Hello everybody and welcome to part 6 of the Fiesta build. In today's episode we, as you can see, welding in or finishing off the brackets for the radiator mounts. We'd started on this previous episodes but hadn't got around to finishing it because we decided to focus on things like the engine and getting the axle done. But we're back on it and we're going to finish it off today. This means that we can now then prep the cage up fully and get that in primer so that the inside of the car can soon be painted. We haven't completely decided on what colour we're going to go with yet, but it's most likely going to be quite a light grey. As you'll see in a couple of minutes time, we have primed it with quite a nice grey. We might stay somewhat similar to that as it kind of shows out a bit more, makes the car look a lot brighter, so you'll see that in a minute. But yeah, you can see here Dad's just welding in the brackets, and obviously we've got to be quite careful with this, especially as the tank is in the back, but we have covered that over, and obviously we made up the new fuel tank cover in the previous episode, so that's all done, so that isn't an issue. But we can see just finishing off the last bracket on the right hand side before we'll be moving on to finally, for one last time, prepping the cage. We obviously have spent quite a lot of time paint stripping it because it had some almost like hammerite paint on it, so it was very, very thick and didn't look good, so we thought we'd have to sand that all back and get that back looking to the bare metal, and then go from there, build it up with some primer and whatnot. So just finishing off the mounts now. Last time we took the rad out just so we can fully get round to all of the bracket and weld all of it in. So just finishing that off now, and as you can see on screen now, we have moved on to sanding down off with the wire wheel on the grinder, cleaning up the last bits that we couldn't get before. We took the screen out to make things easier. Also prevents overspray onto it because we might use it. It is a perspex screen, but may use that in future as a spare. But yeah, you can see Dad's just going through, getting into all the nooks and crannies. Before we didn't actually record this, but we did mask up obviously all of the dash and the gearbox tunnel. So we didn't want to obviously get any overspray onto that, even though it's all going to be painted, but just make sure that it's none of the bits that we don't want to be painted aren't. So yeah, as you can see now, we have masked it all up. Just a little before on screen now, and another photo up there. As you can see, it's quite rusty, but this is the after. Now we are going to go over it again with another coat, but we did run out of the etch primer, so we're not too worried about. Obviously you can probably see there around the door sill that there was a little bit of overspray on the actual outside of the car, but we're not worried about that too much because that's going to all be sanded back at a later date anyway. So now we've obviously moved on to the wing, and we thought, what can we do to fill up a bit of time? It was getting quite late, so we thought we can start on the wing. We haven't completely finished it, but made a good start. We actually got donated the wing by one of my dad's mates. Very generous of him, really. It was a carbon fibre wing. It'll work perfectly for us. So yeah, that was a great thing to get, especially as it will make the car look that much better. But yeah, as you can see, just drilling through all the mounts now, the wing mounts. We had these laser cut a few months back, but now we actually can use them, and you can see we're just being quite careful. We obviously measured a lot to check that it's going to be the correct use for it, and you can probably see we've actually marked out the shape of the wing onto the aluminium. This just means that we can find where we need to drill it and make sure there's no sort of issues as and when we actually fit the wing onto it. Now we have got to cut it down a bit, not majorly, but the wing is quite long, so or quite wide, so we are going to trim that down a bit just so it fits into the kind of legalities of our spec, because in the regulations we are only allowed to run it as wide as the car and anything underneath the top of the roof. So that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed, please drop a like and stay tuned for some more.